Okay, good morning everybody, and Hazak Baruch, thank you for joining us on this beautiful Friday morning as we are entering Shabbat Kodesh. We'd like to wish everyone a Shabbat Shalom Uvorach. We should have a Shabbat that will help us recover both physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally from all the problems that we are going through in our lives. Perashaki Tetze Rabotai. Today's class is sponsored anonymously for the Refuah Shlema of all Mizrahi. Today's class is also sponsored for the Refuah Shlema of Jimmy Mishan, Gamliel Ben Bahia, Ilna Rafana Lahim, Ilna Rafana Lahim, Ilna Rafana Lahim, V'hamim V'hazikim, V'habriim V'hazilim Etanam Harishon, V'chini Ratzom Romar, Amen. Rabotai, before we begin today's class, actually, I would like to share with you a very interesting case that will come up this week that doesn't happen often, okay? We have a mitzvah to remember what Amalek did to us. Just like we have a mitzvah to verbally declare Shabbat, Zachor et Yom HaShabbat, we have to announce it, and we do. We do that every Shabbat when we stand up to make Kiddush. You should know, by the way, that when you're saying Kiddush tonight, you are doing a mitzvah from the Torah. Okay? Zochrehu. Say words of praise welcoming the Shabbat, okay? Now, how much needs to be said? What needs to be said? But the idea is, once we're welcoming and praising the Shabbat, I'm fulfilling the mitzvah of Kiddush. Just mentioning it. Today is Shabbat. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadesho. That's a mitzvah that I have weekly. I have a mitzvah yearly to remember Amalek. That's in the end of our parasha this week. Zachor et asher asalecha Amalek. Okay. Now this is a mitzvah that we fulfill actually in the month of Adar, right before Purim, because Haman comes from Amalek, and it's apropos to read it in that time. It's very befitting, and therefore we will read in the middle of the month of Adar on a Shabbat right before Purim. We also take out a second Sefer Torah. And besides the weekly parasha, whatever that parasha is, we also read the 3 psukim from our parasha, Aliyat Maftir. And it's at that moment that everyone has in mind that they are fulfilling the mitzvah of remembering to destroy, of what Amalek did to us. Zachor asher asalecha Amalek. Okay? We fulfilled this mitzvah just a few months ago in the holiday of Purim, back in Adar. Okay? All of us, whoever went to shul that week, we heard it, we did it. Okay? Now, I have to fulfill this mitzvah every year. Okay? Why every year? Because the Gemara says that it takes a person 12 months to forget something. That's why the laws of mourning, after 12 months, there's a certain forgetting that happens, and it's a blessing, the forgetting. Or else a person would be always depressed over the loss and mourning. Torah wants us to move on. Torah wants us to move forward. So it's a gift that Hashem gave us to be able to forget. And a person forgets something, I guess the level of forgetting increases once 12 months hit. Okay, at the end of 1 year, a person forgets. And therefore, every year, a person has to renew their remembering so that they don't forget. Okay, does that make sense? So, beautiful. We do that every year, right before 12 months pass, so that we never forget. We're always reading within 12 months. The problem is, what happens in a year like this? What do I mean by a year like this? A year like this, we have 2 Adars. Okay? Meaning, in a few months from now, when we come back to Purim time, we're going to have an extra month. The reason we have an extra month is because the Torah says, Shamoret Chodesh HaAviv. Make sure that Pesach always falls out in the springtime. Because as Jews, we base our holidays on the lunar calendar, on the moon, we always, right, the months, the moon and the sun are 11 days apart. Our holidays doesn't matter about the sun, it matters about the moon. Right? That's what makes our months Rosh Chodesh, it's the moon. So you could have a situation that this year Pesach will be whatever day it is, but because it's based on the moon, in 12 months from now we're going to celebrate Pesach 11 days earlier. Now just imagine we kept doing that. Add 11 days every year. Go back 11, 11, 11, 11. After, half a year, after 6 years, Pesach's going to be 2 months before. Pesach's going to be in February. And then another 6 years, it's going to be in December. You can have a situation that you'll be celebrating Pesach with snow in the middle of December. By the way, that's how the Arabs have it with Ramadan. Their Ramadan is always moving because they base, again, their Ramadan on the moon, right? Like the Jewish holidays. And the Jewish holidays are not in sync with the sun. But the Torah does want us to make sure that Pesach will always be in spring. Well, how do I do that? The moon's 11 days right short of the sun. So the way we do that is by adding a leap year average every 3 years. Okay, so on average every 3 years we add a month, Hebrew month. So now we're 11, just imagine, we're 11, 22, 33 days short. We add 30 days. So now it comes back, right? It's a way of restarting. So this year, in a few months, we're going to have 2 Adars. Okay? Why does that matter? We only remember Amalek in the Shabbat right before Purim. Purim is celebrated in the 2nd Adar. So more than 12 months will pass from when we last remembered Amalek till the next time we remember Amalek. It's going to be 13 months. And a person's going to violate, don't forget. Because we're going to forget, because 12 months is the amount of time that one forgets something. And therefore, some commentaries say, therefore, in such a situation, this year, meaning right now, this Shabbat, when the Chazan reads Zachor in the shul, to have in mind that I'm remembering Amalek. This way, in Adar, it's not going to be 12 months or 13 months, it's going to be from 6, because we're counting from now. And therefore, that's something that one should have in mind tomorrow when they go to synagogue, to be yotzeh, to fulfill the mitzvah of Amalek, remembering Amalek, with the Chazan's reading. Again, usually we do it in Adar. This year, it would be better if one could also have it in mind right now, in the 6-month checkpoint, because we're going to run into issues in the 13th month. Okay, it's an interesting halacha, just food for thought. Either way, coming to our perasha. Our perasha, that was also our perasha. But coming to our class for today. The pasuk says, certain forbidden and restricted marriages. Chapter 23, pasuk 4. Lo yavo Amoni u'Moavi b'kal Adonai. We all know this. An Ammonite and a Moabite shall not enter the congregation of Hashem. Even 10 generations shall not enter the congregation of Hashem to eternity. Okay, this is the ban that's on all Ammonim and Moavim. We all know this. This is a very popular pasuk in Shavuot time. David HaMelech comes from Ruth, who is Moaviyah. Females are allowed to convert. The whole controversy that took place at the time. But whatever the idea is, pasuk says they are not allowed to marry into us. Male Ammoni and Moavi cannot marry into the Jewish people. Okay? Now, by the way, there's a misconception. People think they can't convert. It's not true. Okay? They're allowed to convert. They're just not allowed to marry into the Jewish people. They have to marry into each other. Okay? So they can convert, and they're Jewish, but they're just not allowed to marry into the Jewish people. And this is forever. Right? There's no ban on this. There's no, limit. It doesn't expire. A Mizrahi, 3 generations, and then he's allowed to enter the Jewish people. You can marry them. But Moavi, forever. Okay, they're never allowed to marry into the Jewish people. Now today it doesn't really practically matter, because Sanherib came, one of the kings, back in the time of Iraq, I believe, or Assyria, and Sanherib mixed up all the nations. We don't know who is whom today, and therefore majority of the people, they're Batel Berov. So therefore, any non-Jew today that converts, they're accepted, and we can assume that they're not from Ammon and Moab. Even if they come from a place called today Ammon and Moab, it didn't matter, because they were all mixed up and intertwined one with the other. Okay, what's the reason that they're not allowed to marry into the Jewish people? So everybody knows the famous reason, the more famous one of the two, that they didn't provide us with bread and water when we were running away in the desert from Egypt. After all, Ammon and Moab come from Lot. Lot is indebted to Avraham Avinu. How many times Avraham saved Lot's life? And therefore, out of gratitude, Ammon and Moab should have came and given us bread and water when we were hungry and thirsty in the desert. And they did not. And therefore, because they lack hakarat hatov, gratitude and appreciation, God says they can never enter the Jewish people. But there is another reason given in the pasuk. In the same pasuk, they didn't give us bread and water. Pasuk Hey, Va'asher sachar alecha et Bilam ben Beor, and they also hired Bilam ben Beor. We know Bilam from Petor, lekaleleka. Remember when Balak wanted to curse the Jewish people? Balak hired Bilam. Well, Balak is from the country of Moab. And therefore, because they tried hiring someone to kill the Jewish people, they're not allowed in. Okay, very fair. Anti-Semites, we don't want them. Now here's the interesting pasuk that we're going to focus on today. Velo ava Adonai Elohecha l'shmoa el Bilam. The pasuk here goes on a little tangent. And by the way, you should just know, just in case you were wondering, how did that episode play out? Was Bilam successful or not? Did he curse us or not? So here we know what happened because we read the Torah. But the pasuk here says, by the way, you should know, Lo ava Adonai Elohecha l'shmoa Bilam. God refused to listen to Bilam. Okay, harmless pasuk. We all know that it didn't work. The curses turned into blessings. God turned the curses into blessings. All is well because Hashem loves you. Okay, very comforting pasuk. Okay, so everybody keep your finger here. Chapter 23, pasuk 6. God refused to allow Bilam to curse you. Please let us rewind back to Perashat Balak. When Balak sends messengers to Balaam, hey Balaam, could you do this for me? Balaam's like, I don't know, I may ask Hashem. Back in chapter 22 of the book of Numbers, Bamidbar. And he says, let me speak to God tonight. Let me see what God says. After all, he's in charge. And it sounds like Balak's very religious. Bilam, is very religious here. Oh, it's up to Hashem. We gave a class last week about that. Well, anyways, Vayomer, right? God comes to Balaam. Who are these people that are with you? He says, well, Balak wants me to curse this nation. Vayomer alim Balaam lo telichem ahim. God says, don't go with them. Okay, no is no. Balaam understands no. Vayakom Balaam baboker, chapter 22, pasuk 13. Balaam gets up in the morning. Vayomer el Balak, and he tells the messengers of Balak, Lechul artzechem, go to your country. Ki me'en Adonai letiti lahaloch imachem. Because Hashem refuses to let me go with you. If you look at the Hebrew, very important to read Hebrew, by the way. Because if you read the English, there's no question. The problem is when you look at the Hebrew. Over here in the Parashah of Balak, the wording is Me'en Hashem. God refused. Me'en. Okay? Come back to our Parashah. What's the word that's used for Hebrew? For refuse? It doesn't say, right? Me'en Hashem l'shmoa el Bilam. God refused. It doesn't say that. What does it say? Velo ava. Hashem didn't want to listen to Bilam. Again, in English, they could both be translated as refused. Hashem refused and Hashem refused. That's how it does it over here in the Art Scroll English. But the truth is that if we pay attention, and this is not Art Scroll's job to give us a whole, Dvar Torah here, they're translating it loosely, but our job in these Parashiyot classes is to delve a little bit deeper. And we know that in Hebrew there's no such thing as a synonym. At the end of the day, every word means something else. And if there's two words that have the same meaning, we have to ask ourselves why. How are they different? The Gaon Mevilna does this a lot of times. What's the difference between me'en? Hashem doesn't want me to, Hashem refused me to go, and lo ava, Hashem doesn't want me to go. What makes it even more interesting is that if you come back to our parasha, fast forward a few chapters, chapter 25 now. Here we go, chapter 25, Pasuk 7. Okay? Pasuk Zayin. We speak about the idea of levirate marriage, yibum. Do we all know what yibum is? Okay, imagine a man, lo aleinu, passes away, God forbid, without any children. The wife now needs to perform yibum. She goes to the oldest brother in the family, and he has to marry her. Okay, that's yibum, and he keeps the soul, it's a very Kabbalistic idea, but he keeps the soul of his deceased brother alive. Okay, whatever, however that works, not going too deeply into it. But if he doesn't want to marry her, he doesn't want to marry her. It's understandable. There's a reason he didn't marry her to begin with. So let's say he doesn't want to marry her anymore. So he does what's called chalitza. Takes off his shoe, she takes his shoe, she spits in it, and they say there's a whole procedure, a ceremony, and that's it. She can now marry whoever she wants, and he can marry whoever he wants. Okay, very, very beautiful and simple. Take a look at the pasuk over here. Chapter 25, pasuk 7. Ve'im lo yahpot ha'ish lakahat et ibimto. Let's say the man don't want to take her. He doesn't want to marry her. So she comes to the elders, ve'amera, and she says, me'en yebami. Me'en. You see the word me'en? What does that mean? We know what that word means today. Today we learned Hebrew. What does me'en mean? Me'en, he refused, right? Like Hashem and Balaam. Hashem refused to let me go with you. Me'en yebami. My brother-in-law refuses to establish the name for his brother in Israel. Lo ava yabemi. He doesn't want to perform levirate marriage. How interesting, in the same pasuk, we have these two different synonyms back to back. She's using the two different words that we are confused about today. Me'en yebami, my yebami refused, and he doesn't want to yabemi. Same pasuk, me'en and lo ava. Says Rabbi Bernstein, there are two reasons why sometimes in life we don't do certain things. Okay? Something that, let's say someone calls you up and say, hey, I'm going to a party, you want to come? Now, there are two reasons that you could say no. You may say yes, but let's say you say no. There are two reasons why people say no. Either they just don't want to go to the party, or they do want to go, but there's an overriding factor. Let's say there's another party that you have to be at. You would have wished you could go on to the first one. You would love to go with your friend, but you just can't. Okay? So you want to, but you still refuse for a different reason. That's the difference between refuse and not want. Me'en is to refuse. Really, I do want to, but I'm just refusing for whatever reason. Lo ava is at the core, I don't even want to. You understand? We go back to Balaam. Now, when God says to Balaam, don't go, Balaam has to relay that to the people. Now, just imagine you're in his shoes for a second, okay? You have to tell these messengers, God said no. That's like a strike at your ego, if you're Balaam. God told me no? Why would God tell me no? If you're really tight with Hashem, Balaam, then God should let you do whatever you want. So what is he going to tell them now? He has to go present to them the answer. The answer is no. But you don't want to say no. But he has to say no because God said no. So what does he say? He says, back to Perashat Balak. Sorry, lost it. 1 second. Right here. He uses the word me'en. Me'en Adonai letiti lahaloch imachem. God refuses me to go with you. Meaning what he's trying to hint, and he's trying to save himself over here. And he's trying to say that really in theory, God's okay with me going. He's fine if I go, but there's an overriding factor here. There's something specific that he's refusing to let me go. And actually, he hints it to them, imachem. He's refusing because of you. It's your fault. Rashi says this back in Perashat Balak. God doesn't want me to go with you guys because you're not chashuv enough. You're not important enough. You're not dignified enough emissaries for me to go. It's beneath my honor. Hashem is preserving my honor because God loves me. And he doesn't want me to go with you. And so he uses the word refuse. It's your fault. You know, Vashti, remember Vashti? Vashti doesn't come to the party. Achashverosh wanted her to come down in a very inappropriate way, undressed. He wanted to show off his wife. Could you imagine? Everyone was showing off. My women are the nicest. My women are the prettiest. Achashverosh said, my wife is by far the prettiest, and I'll prove it to you. Do you want to see her? And they all said, yeah, we want to see her. But, Your Honor, you can't bring Vashti with her royal clothing, or else, of course, she's going to be the prettiest. It's not a challenge. She has the nicest clothing. We have to see her for her true beauty. Achashverosh, the idiot that he was, says, you're right. Bring her down unclothed. Now, Vashti, she said no. Vashti says no. And anyone that learned this story in school, we all know why she said no. Why did she say no? Everyone knows this. Right? Our rabbi, it's based on the Gemara, Masechet Megillah. Our rabbis say that she grew that day in the morning, she grew a tail. Right? Or she had leprosy. Something happened. Something physically happened to her that she no longer felt comfortable coming down. Now, of course, where did our rabbis know this from? How did our rabbis know? Maybe she felt that it was very immoral to do such a thing. You don't come down unclothed. There's standards we have, But it sounds like no, there was something external. Where did the rabbis know that from? That's the question of Avraham Gerwitz. And he says, if you look in the Pasuk, when it says that Vashti refused, which word does it use? It says, Vatema'en hamalka Vashti. It doesn't say lo avta. She didn't want to. If it said lo avta, that would give the understanding that she felt it was immorally incorrect. Immoral. It was morally incorrect. She shouldn't do it. She didn't want to do it. Lo avta. But it doesn't say lo avta. Because really she wanted to. But vatema'en, there was another reason that she refused to go. In theory, she was more immoral than Achashverosh. She was happy to do it. But something external happened here. The rabbis, therefore, they say the word vatema'en must be she had a pimple, she grew a tail, whatever the reason is, but something external must have came and forced her to refuse, to hold back. Unbelievable. We turn to Mishleh for a minute. Mishleh is a very important book written by Shlomo HaMelech. It's actually a book worth studying. If we can read it and study it, obviously, with commentary, because it's very deep, and it's something that I would like to hopefully one day, Bezat Hashem, maybe do as a class together. We can study Mishleh, 31 chapters. Each pasuk will be its own class because it's so rich and so deep. Mishleh, it's a book of ethics and musar that Shlomo HaMelech is giving. And he says it right here in the beginning, chapter 1, pasuk 10. Beni, he calls us our child, because if we're reading his book, we must be his child. We're a son of his, so to speak. He says, my son, Ibni, like we say in Arabic. Im yifatucha hata'im. If sins try to lefatot, entice. If sin's enticing you, al tove. Don't yield. If you feel sin is trying to entice you, don't give in. It doesn't say tema'in. Shlomo HaMelech doesn't say refuse. Not enough to refuse. Why not? Because, a person may say, you know what? Here's a sin and I'm going to refuse. I'm not going to do it. But that's what Mishlei is all about. Mishlei is not a book on action. It's not a book of behavior, how to act. That's what the Torah is for. The Torah is a book that tells you how to act. Don't kill, don't steal, return lost items. Mishlei, the book that Shlomo HaMelech is writing, is a book on telling you more than how to act. Telling you how to think. Not how to behave, but what kind of character we should develop. It's not just about having good behavior. A person could have good behavior and never kill and never steal, but deep down has very flawed character. Deep down, they want to do wrong things. But that's what Shlomo HaMelech is reminding us. It's not just about not going with sin. You should develop within you the moral system, the value system, that you don't even want to do it. Something that we speak about often. When the Torah says to give charity, to give tzedakah, Hashem is not just interested that we give. It shouldn't just be an act of doing that we're separated emotionally from, that there is zero heart and zero feeling for it. The Torah wants us to do and to want to do it with regesh. When the Torah says don't kill, it doesn't just mean don't kill. The Torah wants us to not be a killer. Don't steal doesn't mean don't steal. It means don't be a thief. We've quoted at the time the Rambam, the famous Rambam, and he asks a very big philosophical question. Who is greater? Someone who has the wrong temptations to do wrong things, but controls themselves, or someone who doesn't even want to do the wrong thing to begin with? What's better? You want to steal and then you fight and you control? Or if you're not even tempted to steal? What's a higher level? So the Rambam makes a chiluk. He says it depends. He differentiates. He makes a distinction. Okay? He says it depends what kind of mitzvah we're talking about. If it's a mitzvah that's sichli, rational, over there, actually it's not enough to just control yourself. The fact that you even want to do it is a flaw. Like stealing. A person that says, you know what, really, I wish I could steal. Every time you walk around, you see people's money, you see people's pocketbooks, you see people's things. I want to take it. I wish I could have that. But I can't because the Torah says. That's a problem. The fact that you even want it is a flaw. A person needs to develop a value system that they don't even want to do it. A person that wants to do violent things but controls themselves, that's a flaw, the fact that you even want to be violent. A person needs to learn to slowly control even their feelings. Okay? But when it comes to mitzvot that are not rational, like the mitzvot, we could say, really between man and God, like kosher, or certain immoral relationships. Over there, it's better for a person to say, I wish I could eat it, but I can't because Hashem said you can't. Right? I wish I could eat it. A person shouldn't say, oh, I don't want to eat not kosher. A person should say, wow, it really looks good. I wish I could eat it, but Hashem said no. That's a stronger level because you want it, but you're controlling yourself. But when it comes to moral mitzvot, rational mitzvot, over there, a person shouldn't even want to do the sin. Okay? We should develop our character and remove even our tendencies towards violence. And that is what Mishlei is all about. So Shlomo HaMelech reminds us, if sin entices you, he doesn't say don't want to sin. Don't do it. He says don't even want to do it. Lo toveh, al toveh. Don't even think about listening. Meaning we should learn why it's wrong to steal till we despise it ourselves. somebody called me the other day. They wanted me to sign for them a document that's, retroactively. They wanted me to sign something that was actually, and to predate it, 2 weeks ago. Again, going back and forth, halachic, legally, but a person should develop the value system that such a question, horrible, it's immoral, it's wrong, it's unethical. Right? If a person has to even think about it back and forth, it means that the sensitivities are not exactly where they should be. Okay? Now we turn back to our parasha of Yibum. We turn back over here to the episode of Yibum. And what's this lady saying? This lady is saying, right, at the end of our parasha, Me'e Yevami. My brother-in-law refuses. Why is he refusing? Does he not want to do the mitzvah? Of course he wants to do a mitzvah. But there's an overriding factor here. There's a reason that he doesn't want to marry her. In theory, he would love to do the mitzvah, but for some reason he's refusing. For whatever reason, that originally he didn't want to marry her. Why didn't he marry her the first time around? Because whatever it was, she was too old for him, she was not his type, whatever the reason was. So she's saying, that's exactly what she's saying. He's refusing now, not because he doesn't want to do the mitzvah. He wants to do the mitzvah, but for some reason he's refusing to do the mitzvah. Why? Because lo ava yabemi. For whatever reason, he didn't want to originally marry me in theory. With these words, beautifully we understand, going back to the case of Ammon and Moab. Bil'am says Hashem refused me to curse you. And now Moshe Rabbeinu is setting it straight and saying, by the way, Hashem didn't refuse. Lo ava. Hashem didn't even want it. Okay, Bil'am lied. It's not that I wanted to, but I refused. I didn't let him. Lo ava Adonai. Why? Ki ahavecha Adonai ohecha. Because Hashem loved you. Beautiful, beautiful ways of understanding these two synonyms in Hebrew that are very similar. If we could just turn for 1 minute to the end of the parasha, and we're going to tie it and loop it back in. The Torah tells us, wow, what a long parasha. So many beautiful mitzvot. Chapter 25, Pasuk 13. Lo yiyeh lecha bekischa even va'aven. You shall not have in your pouch a weight and a weight. A small one and a large one. Meaning, if you're a merchant, you're a businessman, you have weights that you're going to weigh produce against, and it says on it 5 pounds. You're going to give the guy 5 pounds worth of produce, but really it's 4.5. You're giving him less than what he thinks. That's dishonest. Torah says, don't do dishonest things. Don't have inappropriate weights in your home. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky one time he got a gift from somebody, a beautiful piece of silver. I don't know if it was a kiddush cup or whatever it was. Well, he went afterwards, after Shabbat, he went to the smith to have him, assess how much this piece of silver is worth. And this man was very shocked. Like, what does it matter, Rabbi? Someone gave you a gift. What, do you care how much he gave you? It's not nice. Someone gave you a gift. You should just take it and say thank you. You want to know how much did he give me? He gave me a $100 gift. He gave me a $50 gift, right? Someone orders you flowers for the holiday. You call the florist afterwards. Hey, how much were those flowers worth that they sent? I just want to know. Not nice. Someone sent you a gift. It's a gesture. Accept it to be happy. So the guy was very shocked that the rabbi cares to know how much this person spent on the gift. So Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky noticed that this man was puzzled, and he said, I don't care how much it was worth because for how much he spent on me. But when I declare taxes at the end of the year, I need to declare this gift, and I need to know how much to put down for this item. That was the honesty of Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky. Okay. Well, anyways, Shlomo HaMelech in Mishlei, going back to Mishlei, a lot of Mishlei today, chapter 20, Pasuk 10. Take a look. Shlomo says, Even va'avin, efa ve'efa, to'avat Hashem gam shnehem. False weights and false measures, both are an abomination to the Lord. Very interesting. Shlomo HaMelech over here is quoting almost verbatim our pasuk in the Perashah, that we shouldn't have false measures and weights. Basically, be honest. It's very interesting. Shlomo HaMelech over here, like we explained before, he's writing over here a book of ethics, not a book of behavior. So first of all, why is this here? This is a behavioral mitzvah, no? Don't have false weights and measures in your house. And really, why is he repeating the pasuk? He's repeating the pasuk. We know the pasuk from the Torah. Shlomo HaMelech, come on, get new material. What are you quoting the same pasuk for? And says Rabbeinu Yonah, go back one pasuk. Go back one pasuk. The pasuk says, chapter 20, pasuk 9, Mi yomar zikiti libi. Who can say I have cleansed my heart? Taharti mehatati. I am purged of my sin. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, like we've said before, Mishle is not a book of behavior, how to act, what to do. Mishle is more than that. Shlomo HaMelech wants more than that from his readers. He doesn't want his readers to be people that have flawed character, but they work on their actions. No, don't even be greedy. Have a pure heart. One may say, what does it matter? Why should I have a pure heart? As long as I control myself. So what if I want to steal? So what if I'm jealous? So what if I'm greedy? So what if I'm angry? Okay, but at the end of the day, I didn't kill anyone. I didn't steal from anyone. I'm controlling myself. What do you care what goes on in here? All that matters is what goes on in here. The answer is, says the pasuk, the goal of the Torah is not behavior. Like the Rambam taught us, if you have inclination for violence, if we have tendency to do bad, we still have a long way to go. Even though we never stole and we never hurt and we never embarrassed. Very nice. But the fact that deep down inside, we still have the want to do the wrong things, we have to remove that. We have to be good in our essence. The Torah, and this is Shlomo HaMelech, this is what he's selling us in the book of Mishle. He's trying to sell you this idea. Work on character, not just behavior. And now Shlomo HaMelech, this pasuk over here of false measures and weights, this pasuk to him is the proof to his entire thesis. Because he's telling you, look at this. The Torah doesn't say don't steal and don't cheat in business. The Torah says don't even have the measures in your house. When Shlomo saw this pasuk, he's like, wow, mwah, beautiful. He gave it a kiss. You see, I can't just, a person may say, well, let me have it in my house. What do you care? I'm not going to use it. No, the fact that you're even thinking about it, the fact that you even want to do it, it's an isur from the Torah, and therefore Shlomo HaMelech quotes the pasuk word for word. And you know what he's saying? My whole book about having good character, look, Hashem himself cares about that. Can't even have bad measures. Get it out of the house. Get it out of your house. Get it out of your life. Get it out of your system. And so this is something that I think really ties back into what we were saying. Me'en and Alo Ava, Shlomo HaMelech reminds us, Im yifatucha hata'im al toveh. It's not about refusing bad. We need to study books of Musar, books of ethics, so that not only don't we do the wrong things, but we don't even want to do the wrong things. Beautiful story that we say over and over again with Al Gindi Alav Shalom, owner of Century 21 clothing store, the department store. When they were hit and they filed an insurance claim in 9/11, they get a check from the insurance company, and it was a $2 million mistake. $2 million mistake. And his son came in and he says, Dad, we made it. Hashem blessed us. Look, we got a check, $2 million. And when he saw that check, he said, turn around and send it back. He's like, Dad, what are you talking about? This is a gift. And he says, not a gift, it's a test. Hashem's testing us. This is a man who didn't even think of keeping it. It's not ours. It's gezel. It's theft. Not even a question. He didn't have to think, should I, shouldn't I? Let me call the rabbi. Rabbi is a mutar, halacha, it's a non-Jew, etc. It's evil. It's theft. This was a person al toveh that was able to develop his value system to a point that he didn't even want it. Didn't even think about it, didn't even enter his mind. Don't even have these weights and measures in your home. What a beautiful way to live. This is what the Torah expects of us. We should be zocheh to live up to all of these values of good behavior and also good character. Okay, we'll stop over here. Wishing everyone a Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.